My name's Brinley and I'm a survivor of anxiety and depression. So from the time I was little, I was always like super outgoing and I was always like really popular in my grade and I had lots of good friends and I always wanted to be the center of attention. I was kind of a leader. And that was just kind of always my personality. And then in about third grade when I was like 9, I just had a total mood shift and everyone noticed it. I was really like, I just kind of withdrew from all my friends and I was so stressed all the time and social situations became just like terrifying for me. And I just like, I don't know, I couldn't even function in social situations and we didn't really know why. And mental illness runs in my family, so that kind of on my mom's side, so it kind of was like an indication to her, but we didn't really start trying to take care of anything until I started having anxiety attacks when I was around 10 years old. And they kind of started only when I was alone. If I would get like really in my thoughts, then I would just start spiraling and I would kind of panic and have these anxiety attacks. And then as the years have gone on, they've become like more frequent and they're more often just kind of out of the blue and not really necessarily triggered by something. My body just kind of panics. But so I started having these anxiety attacks, and so that was when my mom realized, okay, we needed to get me some help because I was having a hard time handling friends in school. So I started going to therapy and it was going really well, and everything that we did in therapy was just about like, okay, so let's make a plan, like tomorrow at lunch, who are you going to sit with? That way I could always have a plan and I wouldn't be so stressed about everything. So things got really better for a while, and then when I was like 13 years old, I had another mood shift where I just started feeling really gloomy all the time, and I wasn't necessarily in what I would define as one of my depressed states now, but I was just really gloomy all the time. And I was just started like losing motivation, and you know, it just went on like that for a while and we didn't really think much of it. And then right before I turned 14, 2 months before, we moved from Missouri to Utah. And that was a big change, especially for someone with so much anxiety, thinking that I had to go meet new friends and I had to start completely over. And it was just absolutely terrifying for me. So this is when my panic attacks really started picking up, and I remember just so many times where I couldn't function. I remember I would go to church, and this was like a weekly occurrence. I don't know why it was always at church, but I remember I'd be sitting in class and all of a sudden I would just freak out and I'd jump up and I'd run out the nearest door and I'd run outside and just lay in the grass sobbing outside. And I remember one day they tried to sing happy birthday to me, and when they asked me to stand up so they could sing to me, I just started crying in my seat, and it was so embarrassing. And I still think back to how mortified I was 3 years later, because it was such an embarrassing time for me because these were all these new girls that I wanted to be friends with, and I just like couldn't handle myself around them and I didn't know what was wrong really. And so this is when like we started getting me on medications, which I've kind of tried a lot of different medications over the years, and we still are always trying new things just because there's always different mood shifts and different things work at different times for me. But we started me on medications and I got in with a psychiatrist who we really liked and things were going well. And then after we lived in Utah for about a year, I started getting really depressed, and it was completely different from what I'd felt in Missouri. It was like extreme depression where I would just go into like a hole and I felt like I couldn't escape, and I just felt this weight on top of me, and it was so dark and so scary, and I didn't know how to explain what I was feeling to anyone. So I was feeling really suicidal I was like the first period where I was really suicidal in my life, and I remember I mentioned it to a close friend of mine, and she went and talked to the school counselor. I was in 8th or 9th grade, and she went and told the school counselor, and they called my mom, because I was just so suicidal. I just wanted to die. I just needed a way out, and I was at school and I just didn't know what to do. I didn't think I was gonna make it the rest of the day, and my mom came and picked me up. I didn't even know she was coming, and she just started driving, and I said, "Where are we going?" And she said, "We're going to the hospital." And so she took me to the ER, and I'd never been to the hospital before, and so it was really scary, especially to be there for like just so out of the blue and something that I didn't really understand what was happening. But we went there and they put a safety plan in place for me, and I remember, as scary as it was, afterward I didn't want to leave, because I just remember thinking, like, these people care about me and they understand me and they can make me better, and I don't want to leave because I can't do it on my own. And so that was really scary for me to leave the hospital too. And then things were kind of better. It kind of depended on the day, but we got things under control for a little while, and then my parents went on a trip to Italy for like 2 weeks, and so we were staying home with our cousin, but she hadn't come yet. It was like the second night after they'd left, and we were still alone at that point. And my younger siblings were at a friend's house, and my brother was upstairs, and I got so depressed. I didn't even know what was going on. I couldn't function. I was just kind of walking around the house in a daze, just walking in circles. I didn't even know what was happening, and I just felt, I have to die. I have to die right now. I can't do this any longer. And a different really close friend of mine, she had like the feeling to call me, and so she called me and she said, "Hey, I just wanted to check in on you." And I couldn't even say anything. I just started sobbing, and she knew that I dealt with depression, and she lives just up the street with me. So she said, "Don't do anything, I'm coming over." And at this point, I'd found all these medications in the medicine cabinet, and I'd kind of like laid them out, and I was so close. I was ready to take my own life. I was ready to take that step. I just wanted to disappear. I just didn't think I could do it anymore. And they didn't even knock on the door. It was unlocked, and she and her mom just came bursting in the room, and my friend grabbed me, and I just started sobbing. And that night, like, we got things under control, but I was so sad. And I remember the next day I showed up to church, and my friend's stepmom, who was my church teacher, she was talking to me because she kind of knew that I'd been dealing with things, and I started sobbing, and I said, I was talking about my friend, and I said, "She ruined everything, she ruined everything. I was finally going to have my escape, I was going to get away, and she took that away from me." And I was angry at her for saving me. And that's something I shouldn't feel bad about, but still to this day I feel kind of guilty because she saved me from doing something I shouldn't have done, which I'm grateful for, but things just got really bad. So maybe like about a year ago, the mindset that I'd kind of always been in throughout everything was, I'm never going to get through this and I need someone to fix me, and that's kind of like had to do, like, you know, like with leaving the hospital, like I just wanted someone else to fix me, and I didn't think I could do it. I just felt so alone and everything, and I didn't know how to explain things. I didn't think anyone truly understood what I was going through, and if no one else understood it, I knew what I was going through, but I couldn't do it on my own. I didn't think I was strong enough. But about a year ago, it was kind of a gradual thing. It wasn't just all in one day, but over probably like a month's time, I just had a mindset change where it just kind of clicked with me, like, I'm going to deal with this for my entire life. It's a chemical imbalance. It's not something that I can just get rid of. It's not something, you know, like temporary. It's something I'll deal with my whole life, and so I need to learn to cope with it and not just, you know, like, I should acknowledge my pain, and I should realize that what I'm feeling is okay, and it's okay to hurt, but I shouldn't just let myself sit in that pain, and I shouldn't just be like, okay, well, this is my life, and just accept it as that. I wanted to get better, and this was the first time in my life where I really realized that. And so I just decided I didn't want to go through these periods anymore, and I knew that I wanted to be okay with feeling anxious and be okay with feeling depressed and be okay with panic attacks and know that they were going to come, but that they were also going to go away and that I was going to get better. And this mindset change just completely changed my life, because from that point I've been able to realize that mental illness is not something that defines you. It's not who you are. It's a part of you, but you're so much more than that. And so I realized that I was worthy of happiness, and I had a right to be happy, and I just completely changed and I became so much happier. And so that's kind of the time when I decided I want to share my message with other people, and I want other people to know that what they're dealing with is okay, and that I've made it through all these things and you can too. So I started seeking out opportunities, and I was able to give a presentation at my school's faculty meeting about how to help students with mental health, and that was the first time I'd really talked to a big group. You know, I talked to people one-on-one, but I never talked to a big group of people and put my message out there, so that was kind of scary for me. But it was so relieving, and it almost felt like it lifted some of the weight of my illness off of me, because I was sharing it with other people and it didn't feel like an internal struggle anymore. It just felt like a part of my life that I was sharing with others, and it started to feel more normal. And so I started sharing it on social media, and I was able to interview recently on Park City TV for a segment that they're doing, and it's incredible to be able to get my message out there. And that's not necessarily, you know, what's right for everyone, because some people do feel uncomfortable talking about it with big groups, but I think it's so important to have some amount of people that you can talk to about it, because talking about what you're going through is so relieving, and it really does lift off some of the weight, because it just starts to become more normalized in your mind, that it's not this like secretive thing that's like taboo and you can't talk about it because it will make people uncomfortable. And I still sometimes telling people, like, if I make a new friend, it's scary for me to be like, oh, I forgot to take my medication last night, so I need to run home, or things like that. And I'll try to make up lies because it's scary for me to talk about it, but I'm trying every day to become more normal with it, because I do want to end the stigma around mental health, and I want to encourage others to do the same, because I've been trained throughout all these years that I've dealt with it to feel uncomfortable talking to people and to feel like they're going to judge me, and I shouldn't worry about what other people think of me, because I need to get my story out there, and I need to be comfortable with myself and comfortable with my struggles. So if any of you are dealing with these things, you just need to talk about it, because getting it out is the most important step, and from there you can find whatever methods work for you, whether that's therapy or medication, or just finding a close-knit group of friends, or certain diets. Like, there's all kinds of things that can help you, but the first step is talking to someone and giving yourself the freedom to be comfortable with what you're struggling with.